Yeah, hello and welcome. So in this video I'm going to talk about Python. Actually, this video is like an overview of a series of courses or modules or sections that I'm going to handle in Python, whereby I will be learning Python from scratch all the way to the OOP structure or full basic concept in Python. So this video I'm just going to outline the main areas that we're going to be tackling through the series videos that will be upcoming next. So if you're a total beginner, be sure to move from zero to hero, full course, basics in Python. Then after that you can advance and advance and advance from there all the way up. So in this video is just an overview of exactly what you're going to do, so that at least when you are going through the sections or the videos, you know exactly where I am, how far have I come, and where am I heading. So you'll be able to get an overview of what you need to understand or know in Python, from basics or from introduction to the end. So I'll try my best to give you the best that I can, and just make sure to stick around and follow through the series videos step by step. Before you move to the next module or the next section or the next video, just make sure at least you have understood what is in the previous section, because I can assure you somehow these sections are literally connected. So if you are able to connect from start to the end, by the time you finish the series tutorials, I think you'll be set for basic in Python fully. So straight away I'm just going to dive in and show you the sections that I'll be handling across the series videos or the episodes in my series here. Yeah, without further ado, let us dive into it. And just remember the email at your screen right there. You can contact me for more insight, or if you want us to have a connection and get to know each other more. So straight away let me go and start showing you what to expect from the video all the way up. So the first thing that we're going to do in this video, I'll be going through introduction to Python, whereby you have to know, yes, this Python, so what? Yeah, so you have to get it. So Python, yes, so what? So you have to understand what is Python, then why do you need Python, then how can we use Python and such. So at introduction level, I'll just talk about what Python is, the history behind Python, and its trend in popularity and the strengths and what it can do and what you can do with Python, and why you really need Python as a programmer or maybe a software engineer, maybe any other area. So the next thing, after you have looked at what Python is, you can go ahead and I'll show you where to get the files to install on your system, because yes, you are learning Python, but at least you need to do practice. You cannot just learn by reading documents and such. So we need to do this thing practically. So we'll show you where to get the IDE. IDE just means integrated development environment, and the interpreters are the ones that try to compile the code and run them. So we'll talk about how to install Python and where to get the files for you to install them, so that you can be able to get started in programming in Python. So you need the interpreter and you need an editor. So we'll talk about where to get that. It doesn't matter which type of operating system you're using. If you're using the distribution of Linux, or you're using Windows or Mac OS, be sure I'll show you where to get the IDE and the interpreter. Then after you have talked about what introduction to Python and installing Python, the next thing you're going to do now is get started now programming in Python. Yeah, so we already have the IDE, we know what Python is, we know what Python can do. Now we get to know what is now entailed in Python. So we'll start by learning variables, and then learn about data types, and then after you have learned about variable and data types, we can now learn how to declare them and assign values to variables. So in getting started, the first section we'll talk about the variables and data types, and then how to declare them and assign variables to these data types. After you have learned about data types, we'll go to basic operators. So you can see you cannot do an operation on nothing. At least if, for example, you have to drive a car, you have to have the car, you have to understand, okay, this is a car. If you have to drive a motorbike, you have to know this is a motorbike. Then after that, you now know if it's a motorbike, this is how we do it. If it's a car, this is how we do it. So after you have learned about data types and variables, now we want to do some operation on these variables, these data types. You see, we need to understand data types before we do any operation. So we learn about data types and variables, and then we go ahead and do some operations on data types, the data types and variables. So we learn basic operators, whereby we cover the basic mathematical operators like addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, among others. And then we'll go ahead and do comparison operators. When we talk about comparison operators, it's like saying greater than, less than, greater than or equal to, such operators. Then we go about logical operators, whereby we use logic, that is and or logical operators. So don't worry with those. We'll talk more about when you're handling or tackling these sections of these modules. When we'll be tackling about variables, we'll talk more about variables, and the basic operators, we'll talk more about them. After we have get started with Python, we'll go to the next section, whereby we'll look at control structures, functions, modules, and packages. Now, assuming you already know what data types are, yeah, okay, now we know what data types are. What can we do with these data types? Okay, assuming we have two numbers, whereby we have to add them, and then you have other two numbers, we have to divide them, and then you have other two numbers, you have to multiply them. So you see, like, for us to write a good code that can be able to perform these tasks very effectively is using control structures. So control structures will enable us to do addition when addition is required, to do division when division is required. So with control structures, we will be able to do required task at a given time at the right time. So we'll go and learn more about control structures, and then we can deep down now into functions. But under control structures, we'll talk about conditional statements, then we'll talk about loops. So for loops, we'll have while loop and for loops. Then for statements, we'll have if and elif statements. Then we'll go to functions. So what are functions? Function is just like saying functionality. Like I can say generally it's like functionality. Functionality is whereby we create a collection of code that performs a specific task. Whereby you can say, okay, let this function now be my hand. Maybe you have a hand and a leg. Take like your leg like a function, your hand as a function. You see, the leg does a very different thing from your hand. So in your code, there are sections that you may want them to behave in this way, and the section you want to behave this way. So for you to be able to effectively implement your program, you have to create these sections separately, so that whenever one section is needed, you just call it. So functions are very important, will enable your code to be helpful and to be more effective, given that you are able to understand, okay, this section does this, so when I need this, I have this section, when I need this, I have this section. So with that, we learn what functions are, how to define them, how to call them. After we have learned control structures, functions, now we'll learn about modules and packages. So what are modules? What are packages? So this might be heavy terminology for a beginner, but as we go through the series videos, be sure to get to understand everything. I'll try to explain as much as I can all these sections to you people, so that you get to understand what is really happening. So modules and packages. In this section we'll talk about how to import these modules and how to import the packages, and more so we'll try to create our own modules, try to import them in our code and do all that stuff. So after introduction, we will go to introduction, getting started with the programming, and then we come to control structures, functions, and modules. The next thing we are going to do now, or the last thing, so we'll do error handling, we'll do object-oriented programming and finally I'll give you a summary, an overview of everything that you have gone through in a single video for a very precise manner, and then we shall do some simple application or simple project to implement everything that you have learned across the tutorials. So what is error handling? Yeah, it is true you might have developed your application, but yes, maybe you have developed your application, but it might encounter a problem while it is running. It might encounter an error. So there are some obvious errors that are known. So we just have to handle this. If you know this error will occur, you just have to handle it as early as possible. Let the errors maybe that can't be seen even appear later on, but if it's an error that you can notice, maybe it's a syntax error, maybe it's any type of exception, you need to handle them. Yeah, so error handling, we'll talk about try exception blocks, and raise exceptions. That is basic techniques in error handling. So after you have understood what error handling is, we'll go into object-oriented programming, whereby object-oriented programming is very powerful skill. It's a very powerful skill. So by the time you reach to this section of the module that I'm going to be sharing, or the tutorials, make sure you really have a good grasp of the basics, that is functions, all that's function. In object-oriented programming, we'll talk about classes. You see, we'll talk about classes and many more things. In object-oriented programming, we talk about functions, we talk about how to call this function, how to instantiate the classes, and all that. When you know object-oriented programming, you are able to create some very powerful code that is very clean and it is reusable. If you have done your code in OOP structure, it is a very reusable code. Given that a given situation, that's whereby you have written a code in this application and you find the same concept you have to apply in this other section, you can reuse your code very effectively. Or in the same program, you want to do addition in several sections, you can just create one function that does addition, and all you have to do is just to call it in that in anywhere in your code whenever you need to do addition. So object-oriented structure is a very powerful concept that will go about. So I'll try my best to exhaust as much as you need to know, and also always remember, online there are many resources for you to learn and expand your skills in these areas, including the official website whereby you go for official documentation. I'll show you the resources where you can find that, as I said earlier. So after you have tackled exception handling, you have tackled object-oriented programming, I'll give you a summary or an overview. We'll have a single video that just tries to cut across everything that you have learned, to do a reminder and what we've done in our program or in our sections, whereby I will summarize what was covered in the videos. I will share additional resources for you to learn more about Python. When you reach at that point, I think you'll be good to go and say, like, you have basics in Python with numerous practices across all the sections. So remember, you are free to share any links to important resources in the comment sections. You can share a link to maybe a page that talks more about Python and such, so that maybe other students or other learners, beginners, experts, anybody who comes across those resources, they might find some useful information in there for them to learn. Yeah, as you remember, learning is day in, day out. Yeah, sure. So with that said, whereby I've said we'll go through introduction, getting started, control structures, functions and modules, exception handling, OOP and summary. Now in this video I'll just tackle the introduction section, whereby I'll talk what is Python, and then I'll talk about installation and where to get the installation files. Then in the next video I'll be handling the introduction or getting started now in Python. So to start away, straight away, I'm going to talk about what is Python actually. So yes, we are talking about Python, but as a beginner, total beginner, maybe you are new to programming, you might be asking yourself, what is Python? Yeah, so you are going Python, so what? Yeah. Yeah, sometimes that one can be a really disturbing question, but what is Python? As you know, we have low level programming languages, high level programming languages, among others. So generally Python is a high level programming language, and it is interpreted programming language, an interpreted programming language that was first released in 1991 by Guido van Razan. So it was designed with the goal of being easy to read, write, and maintain. And since it has become one of the most popular programming languages in the world. Yeah. So Python actually is very beginner friendly, it's easy to run, to learn, and it is direct. So you can generally say it's very beginner friendly. At the same time, it's very powerful. Advanced programmers find it very useful and very resourceful. So why is the Python growing very popular across the ages? So let us look at why now. You may be asking yourself, yes, we have Python. I know there are many other programming languages, but personally I can say Python is a bit more useful. But you also are open to learn any other programming language. But if you want to dive into Python, I can assure you expect good outcomes out of it, because one of the reasons Python popularity is versatility, and it can be used for a wide range of tasks. I'm very sure about that. One of them being web development. When you talk about web development, Python can be used for backend. Python can be used for backend, whereby you use either Django framework or Flask framework. So if you're a beginner, after this tutorial, you can try and look at what frameworks are: Django framework and Flask framework. For web development, Python is very useful for data analysis. So with Python, you can become a data analyst, you can become a web developer, you can do machine learning, you can do scientific computing, and many more others. You can do networking, among others. So I can say Python is very versatile, and it can be used at a wide range of tasks, as I've said, including web development, data analysis, machine learning, scientific computing, and many more. So in addition to this, there is what we call community around our programming language. A community is like trying to say like a large number of people interested in the language. Whereby if you have many people, it means you have a numerous source of assistance. Assuming you are stuck in your program, if you have many people doing the same programming language, it means many people maybe have gotten stuck in that area, and through the process, some of them have been able to come up with solution to those issues. So with the large community, you are assured of solutions. You are able to share your problem or your debugging or your bugs, and other people out there can be able to help you debug your code. So I can generally say it has a very large community. Python has a large community. That's one of the reasons that is making it grow very fast. Yeah. Then, in addition to that, another reasons for Python success is simplicity. Python is direct, as I said earlier. Python is beginner friendly. So if you have no prior knowledge in programming, Python is a good tech to go, because you can do machine learning, as you said earlier. You can do data analysis. You can go and do web development with just Python. You can do all those things, networking and such. So its syntax is clear and concise, which makes it easy for beginners to learn and write code quickly. However, it has advanced features, so it is not just for beginners. Advanced programmers can use Python to create very complex and powerful applications. So Python is very friendly from beginner all the way up. With Python, be assured for the best out of it. Then overall, we can say Python is powerful, flexible language that has something to offer for everyone, be it a beginner or an expert. You are good to go with Python. So let me hope I see you around as you dive into Python, start your journey as a software engineer, or that programmer, or that IT specialist, or that data analyst, and such. So Python you are good to go in a very variety areas of interest. So with that said, I think I'll just go straight away and try to show you where you can get the interpreter and the IDE. As I said earlier, IDE means integrated development environment. So you get the editor. Yeah, so installing Python interpreter and editor. So here I'm going to tackle both I'm going to tackle both, be it a Linux distribution, or be it a Linux distribution, or Windows or Mac OS. So I'll show you where to get. So first of all, before you install the editor, I presume, or I prefer you first of all install the interpreter. Then after that you can install the editor. So where to get the interpreter for Windows and Mac OS? Just go to your browser and look for, search for python.org, python.org. So I usually prefer for somebody to go to the official website to get their IDE there, interpreters there, because that's where we have the stable channel releases. But at the same time, you can find the interpreter from other websites, but I usually really recommend go to the official website, download community version. If you don't want the premium version, just go for community version for education. That one will be enough for you. So search for python.org. When you search for python.org, you'll be directed to this page, and as you can see, just go to download. So if you're using Mac OS, you go for this. If you're using Windows, go for this. So like for this case, I'll be showing where to get for Windows, and it's just the same thing for Mac OS. So just select Windows. To select Windows, you can see latest Python release was 3.11.2. So you can come down here, download 3. You can download either, if you're using Windows 64-bit, you can download this one for 3.11.2, or you can come to 3.11.1. These are different releases, so it depends. But I presume just go for the latest one, or the second last latest. So this is the latest 3.11.2. This 3.11.1. So I presume you can go for this. So just click on this one, and your installer will be downloaded for Windows. Just after finishing downloading, run the executable file. You can click that, and the download will start straight away. So I'm not going to download that because I already installed that. So I have to download that. Just follow the prompts as you install the application. It's very easy. Just right click, run as administrator, and follow through the prompts. If it is Mac OS, as I said earlier, just go for Mac OS, and that will happen. You get the page of Mac OS and download the IDE Mac OS. At the same thing, you can just come and download 64-bit Mac OS. So after you have installed the interpreter, now I presume go ahead and install the editor. Yeah, you can do your editor in for Windows. You can write that in Notepad, but I usually prefer just go for an editor like Visual Studio Code, or you can download PyCharm. That one will enable you to write your code faster. It will help you to indent your code and such. So you won't be stressing so much about that. You'll be focusing on the syntax and the more important areas that you need to know in Python. So for this tutorial, the tools that will be proceeding, I'll be using PyCharm, but at the same time you can use Visual Studio Code. Download Visual Studio Code and do the plugin. So I'm going to show you where to get the PyCharm. So just go to official website, JetBrains, the JetBrains.com. So for you to download the PyCharm and install on your machine. So when you get to JetBrains.com, you can scroll down, then go to this page. Make sure you search for JetBrains.com, and then go to this one here, Python and Django. Then Python and Django. So you can see there are several. This IntelliJ, this one's for Java. So we are looking for PyCharm, but here you can see this one is professional for developers. If you are a beginner, I think this one is enough for you. I've been able to do so much with educational level, but if you are okay with the other version, the profession and for developers, you can download that and do that. But I prefer just go for educational, because with this you have almost everything you need to get started in Python. So just click on that. After you click on that, you can come here, select this. Then once you're on that, so it depends, are you on Linux or Windows or Mac OS, which operating system are you using? So you select here. If it is Windows, like we did earlier, you have to download this one. If it's Mac OS, we use this one. If it's Linux, we do that. So Windows, will select that, and that should be automatically able to start your download. You can see. So you download the PyCharm community version, right click or double click, whichever way, run as administrator and install through them. The prompts, just follow. It's a very easy process. Just follow through the installation procedure. So I'm not going to download that because I already have on my sheet. So just proceed like that. So if you encounter any problems while trying to download that and install, just issue the visual documentation and try to see how to install that depending on operating system. So after you have done that, installed the interpreter and installed the IDE, get ready for the next session whereby we'll be getting started with variables, data types, and basic operators in Python. Hope to see you around with Python from 0 to hero. Thank you guys. Hope I see you around in the next video.